Hey guys, Eric Su here. Welcome back to another episode of Next Gen MLM Hacks Radio. This is going to be a great one because we're going to be talking about how to set up your podcast and all the equipment you would need. So stay tuned.
So the real issue is this: how do regular folks like us who do not cheat and only nag family members and friends who want to grow a residual income stream, how do we attract quality leaders into our organization and create profitable home businesses, yet still have plenty of time to enjoy life? That's the screaming question, and this podcast will give you the answer. My name is Eric Su, and welcome to Next Gen MLM Hacks Radio.
All right, you guys, welcome back. Now, today's episode is going to be all about the podcast setup, okay? Now, you probably can Google, and there's going to be a lot of people out there showing you how to set up your podcast, your equipment you need, and so forth. I got to check. So I've got a cheat sheet that you can use so that everything I talk about in this podcast, you can just use as a checklist and see if you got it or not. Okay. Now, there are specific things that you would need. Let me just pull this up, and I'm going to turn this around so you can see it. But I'm going to be talking about several things.
So here is the podcast setup checklist that I just talked about, and it's just laid out here for you guys so you can see each of the pieces you would need so that you can set up your podcast. You got your hardware right here, and this is what I'll be talking about. These items, the software, these items, and the music host, and these items. I'll put this link to this so you can download it and use it as your guide.
All right, you guys. So like I said, I'm going to be talking about how to set up your podcast, your equipment you need, the hosting sites you need, software you need. And this is not going to be all in depth, but this is going to be the kind of the overview of what I'm using so that you can set up quickly and easily and get your podcast running. Okay, so let's dive right into it. So my first topic I have is hardware. Now, hardware, there's so much out there that you could purchase from the really inexpensive to the very, very advanced and really expensive stuff. Choose something that fits your budget and go with it. They're all pretty much, as far as, let me be specific here, like the mic, for example, okay? I'm going to be showing you my mic here, which is a condenser mic, and it's the MXL condenser mic. And I've got a little pop screen here just in case when I speak into it, you won't hear all those pops and so forth. Okay, so it's pretty inexpensive, this pop shield here. Okay, the microphone is very important because that gives you the ability to connect to a computer, which is another piece of hardware you would need. And I'm also going to talk about the interface, and let me swing this over here so you can see what I'm talking about. The interface is this little box right here that allows you to connect your mic to your computer, okay? Now, there are mics that you could get where you're going to be connecting the mic straight into your computer. That's called a mic to USB connection. I'm not going to go too in-depth here or anything like that, but there are mics like that you could just connect your mic right into the computer, which works very well, or you can do it through an interface. And the benefit of the interface is the ability so that you could bring someone in from a conference line call like freeconferencecall.com, and when they call in, or even when they are in Skype, for example, they call in through the computer. Well, this interface allows you to mix not only your voice, but also the person that's coming in, their voice, so you can do an interview with other people and record that. So that's really the reason why I got it, so that I could do the interviews that way. Nowadays, podcasts are done like through Facebook Live or through B.Live, I think it's called. Some of those platforms allow you to connect with two people, record that interview, and it's a video plus an audio. You can strip that to make it an audio interview, but if you're just doing straight recording, So I know I'm jumping around, but straight recording. The main thing here is that you will need something that connects to your computer. So if it's just a straight recording, you're not interviewing anyone from a phone conversation, so to speak, then you'll just use a mic into the computer. The reason for a mic, if I didn't mention earlier, was mainly because it sounds much better. Okay, a lot of people use earbuds and so forth to connect. They have a microphone. That's okay. That's really the inexpensive route. And so the first two pieces would be the microphone, and then the second piece would be the computer. Okay. Now, could you use your phone? And it has a mic on there. Yes, you could use that. I know of two softwares that we'll go into that allow you to record your voice. There's actually three, but I'll mention two, and it can upload to their host, if you will. They're also hosts that you can upload to them, and they can you can record your podcast that way as well. I'll talk about that later, but you could use your phone as well as a way to do your podcasts, and that's okay too. Already talked about the interface, so those four pieces right there: the microphone, the computer, the phone, and the audio interface. Those are some pieces that you could use. The bare minimum, I would say, you can always start off with your phone. Start off with your phone, record, and then use the software I'm going to be talking about next. Okay, so let's move on to the software. Okay, so software, there is, and these are free. This one's free, Audacity, A-U-D-A-C-I-T-Y. You may have heard of it. It's a music mixer software that you can download for free, and you can use it to cut music. You can use it to edit music. It's really good. I use something called, which is the second one, Adobe Audition, which is a little bit more advanced, but works a little bit more for professionals, and it edits your software music as well. Okay, I've heard people use GarageBand. If you have GarageBand, you can do that. And then the two apps that I really like that you could just do the podcast right on it is called Anchor.fm, and let me just see if I can pull it up on my phone here. Okay. So I don't know if you can see that, but Anchor.fm, and then the other one's Podbean. They both have, if you go into it, the ability for you to record. Okay. So if you tap that, you can go ahead and hit the record button right there, and then you can record your voice and your audio. And this also has the feature where you can invite others to be on the podcast. So you record both people on the recording. So that's really cool. And then you upload it, and they are a host as well, so which is another topic we'll have to talk about. And because you want to put your music someplace, right? Okay, so that's a really good one. And then the other one is Podbean. Podbean is another music host, and they also have a feature on their app that allows you to go ahead and upload your recording to them, and then so you're actually recording your podcast there. So to recap real quick, just the hardware and software, you could get a mic, and that mic you could use right onto your computer to record, and then use the software, Audacity or Adobe Audition, to edit that, okay? Or you can use these apps, and here's Podbean, looks something like that, okay? And there's a button right there that you could use to record your podcast, okay? So that's how you could do it so easily. Now, there are some setup things that you would have to work on, so that you can so that you have, let's see here, so now you have a music file, right? Where do you put it, right? So the question becomes, where do you want to host it? Okay, so hosting is like you send your audio to iTunes, for example. That's a hosting site. And so I host it on iTunes, and what's great about Anchor is that when you log in, you can set up all your hosting sites on there, where once it goes into Anchor, it actually goes right to iTunes. It goes to all the other platforms that people can listen to music. Google Play, Stitcher. Podbean is another one that once you have to buy Podbean's program though. Anchor's all free, by the way, so it's really cool. iTunes free, great. So you log into your iTunes, you set up your account, you create your podcast, you authenticate it, and then all of a sudden you can upload your music through Podbean or through Libsyn, which is another one, or Anchor, and they all will shoot right to iTunes, which is a hosting site. Okay, so that's how I get my podcast episodes onto iTunes, is through Anchor and or Podbean. Okay, so just really quickly, I know I'm jumping all over the place, but it is all about music hosting, right? So iTunes, it's free. Libsyn is another server. Anchor.fm is great for those who just want to start off. That's how I would use it. Next Gen MLM Hacks Radio is actually I host it off of Anchor.fm. And then there's Podbean. I do purchase that one for another podcast that I have. And then there's Stitcher. There's Google Play that you could also put your music or your episodes on. But for the most part, what we want to be able to do with our podcast is create it, actually. That's how using the hardware. Edit it with our software, and then put it somewhere on our hosting sites. Okay, so that's the big idea behind my setup and how I would do it. Low budget, yes, you can find some great solutions. All you need to do is hit record and talk about your special topic, and then finally edit it so it sounds great using some of the software that I mentioned. I'll give you that cheat sheet so you'll have it. And then from there, just go right into uploading it to the host sites. And boom, promote it, announce it, make sure you're consistent with it. Do collaborations with interview other people, and you will have a podcast show with subscribers and listens and so forth. And that's how you get your message out there. Okay, so I think this was a very important episode because of all that information, or the importance of having your information out there. And so hopefully it's made a lot of sense. Now, the cheat sheet will be in the link in the post so that you can just grab it. The other thing is, let's see, if you do like this, rate and review this. I really appreciate it. And give me your feedback, comments, or questions would be great. If you have any other questions for me about how to set up your podcast, I'm sure there's other gurus out there that talks about how to set it up and all these little details about the setup and everything. But for the most part, I wanted to show you what I'm doing so that you know how I do it. Okay, so hope you like it, and I'll talk to you guys in the next episode.
Hey, thanks for listening. Please remember to subscribe and leave feedback for me. Do you have a question that you want answered live on the show? Go to nextgenmlmhacksradio.com to submit your question and download your free Next Gen MLM Masters Pack.